Workers on the Hoover Dam had to improvise their own headgear to protect their heads from falling rocks after using the explosives. And they did this with tar and cloth. We'll talk about that and more fun Hoover Dam facts as we sketch this little Hoover Dam. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a, good Lord, is it Wednesday morning? Wednesday morning? Where is the week gone? It's already hump day. Wednesday morning, hump day. Goodness gracious. On Wednesday mornings, I like to do a little thing where I take a toy from the toy box, a random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier, if you will, and I like to draw it and talk about it. And today's random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier is the Hoover Dam. This is part of Safari's U.S. Tourism sites. I don't think tourism is the right word, but it's part of their landmarks. That's the word I was looking for. Landmark sites. And Safari has put a lot of detail in this little toy in the Hoover Dam. So that's what we're going to draw today, and that's what we're going to talk about. Good morning, Rick. Good morning, Adele. Hump day. I saw that, Rick. Hump day. That's not the one that I really like to do. The one I really like to do is Thursday, because that's when my show is. My evening show is on Thursday. The artistic biker will make you happier than a Norse god on Thursday.
The Hoover Dam is one of the 7 modern wonders of the world.
7 modern? Why'd they pick 7? I wonder. Because it was the 7 wonders of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Was like Nebuchadnezzar's garden, the Sphinx, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Was a couple of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. But I wonder why they picked 7 as their lucky number there. The Hoover Dam, built in So it came to life in 1939. Kicked off in 1939. Was when they brought it online. I think that's right. Did it come to life in 36? I thought they were still building. I thought they were still building in 36.
Yeah, they were. Sorry.
It's all right. I can't read my handwriting. I wrote this at almost 2 o'clock in the morning. Because at 2 o'clock, because I went to bed and I was like, oh crap, I forgot to write the notes down in the show, and I ran back downstairs and I wrote the notes. Came in here and wrote the notes. Set my coffee up. I'm sketching it like it's Saturday and I don't have anywhere to be. I need to get a move on. I feel like I'm already behind. Anyway, it's mostly concrete. They poured enough concrete to if they had just poured the concrete in one pour, it would still be cooling, because it would have taken about 125 years for that concrete to dry. Concrete dries in a chemical process that is what is known as exothermic, and it releases heat as it does so. And this thing is 726 feet tall, which is the equivalent of 49 hippos stacked nose to tail. But if you stacked 72 hippos nose to tail, they wouldn't much like it. But in order to keep the concrete will explode with the heat if you add heat to it. Like if you weld on it, if you apply a torch to it, concrete will explode. And so to keep the heat down, to make sure it cured properly and all that other stuff, they put a cooling pipe inside of it. And they used 582 miles of cooling pipe inside of it. And they filled it with a machine that made ice water to cool the pipe down. And they built they poured the concrete in blocks like Lego blocks, and interlocked them as they built them, and then poured the ice water down into the cooling pipes. And then when everything was cool enough to settle, they pumped the ice water back out and then filled it with grout. Pipes are still in the thing. Adele says the hippos would stack you before you try that, and Rick says that smell would be horrendous. I think so also. Rick says he was actually there 54 years ago, and he was 18 then. "54 years ago, I was a 1-year-old child." I don't have much memory of it. I'm out of ink. How does that happen? I used to never run out of ink. Of course, I used to never draw every day for 30 minutes. This is Higgins Eternal documental ink. It is not waterproof ink. It is water soluble ink. If you're going to use ink in a fountain pen, it's best to use ink that dissolves in water, because when you go to, if it dries in your tip, you've got to clean it back out. Adele says 54 years ago she was an egg. Rick and I are just old people. What you said? Oh, you're not talking to me.
Yeah, I was changing computers.
What did you say?
I'm changing computers. My laptop.
Oh, you were letting me know that you were changing computers.
Yes.
You were trying to make a subtle side note, and I blew it up into a big. Mom's changing computers, everybody. Rick says speak for yourself. I said we're old people, and Rick said speak for yourself. The people that worked on, and I opened the show talking about this. The people that worked on the Hoover Dam had no head protection. Now, initially my research came back and said that they invented hard hats, the modern hard hat for this job, and that's not true. I started off. I started to say it. I started to blindly accept it, and then I remembered, the mining industry had hard hats, and so I had to dig a little deeper. And what the article was actually saying was not that they invented hard hats for this, but that they improvised hard hats for this, and the way that they improvised hard hats for this inspired the modern OSHA type hard hats that everybody that you're familiar with, because the mining industry had helmets and metal hats and all kinds of things that were different, and they were non-standardized. But these guys took tar and cloth, and they took their cloth hats and they dipped them in tar and then let them cool, and then added more layers and made them thicker so that they would act like a helmet. And that is the guy that ultimately industrialized hard hats was there, and he's the one that saw it happen and modernized. And I didn't write his name down. I should have written his name down. But their improvised hard hats are why we have the hard hat we see today. And they had to have hard hats because they were blowing up rock. They were climbing up on these rocks with ropes, swinging around over the top and then blowing stuff up overhead. And they're 726 feet up. There's not enough time to set the fuse and come all the way back down and then climb all the way back up every day. They couldn't do that. And so they would just swing out of the way. They would tie their ropes off in the middle over here on scaffolding, and they would just swing out of the way. And at one point there was a big rock jutting out in there, and one of the high scalers, his function throughout the day was to stand on a platform and wait for people who needed a hand getting across the dam, and he would swing over, grab onto them. They would wrap their arms and legs around his waist, and he would put his arm around them, and then he would kick off and swing all the way out away from and around the boulders. Now I'm reading, I'm thinking, no, this is not anything I would ever be able to do. I got a little high anxiety there reading about it. It's not anything I would be able to do. These guys are truly heroic. The skyscraper guys are amazing as it is, but these guys are out there where there's nothing. There's no emergency services. There's nothing out there. They're just swinging out in the middle of nowhere. Just truly heroic people. And they hired acrobats, and they hired sailors, and they specified the list was specifically acrobats, sailors, and Native Americans who were not afraid of heights.
We have Random on vertical.
Devarama. Give us a phonetic spelling of your name. Good morning. Tell us how to pronounce your name. Good morning. Welcome. I got to get a move on. I have let the details of this take too long. I've got to get those pencil marks out of the way, and I have to get some color down. It is already 5:45. But it was funny to me that the way they listed the people that worked on it. Sailors, because sailors have to climb up in the rigging on the ships at the time. You're talking the early 1900s. Most ships still had rigging that had to be climbed. Is Claudia here? Yeah, good morning, Claudia. She says, good morning, all you young and old people. But
Just no helicopters.
no helicopters. Right, Rick? No helicopters. No way to get across except for the power of human intuition, human effort. But yeah, sailors, acrobats, and Native Americans specified that particular group of people. And I couldn't help but wonder, what made the I understand acrobats, they swing out on wires all the time. I understand sailors used to climbing rigging in the storm on ships. But how did the Native Americans fit into that group? How do you specify, oh yes, and Native Americans? It had two official names. Due to Interior Secretary Wilbur initially called it the Hoover Dam after Herbert Hoover, who was the president at the time. It's Herbert Hoover, right? I have to sing the song from Annie to remember what the presidents were at the time. We'd like to thank you, Mr. Hoover. But Hoover was the president at the time, so the Interior Secretary Wilbur named the dam after Hoover. And then, that was 1930. 1932, Hoover lost the election to FDR, and FDR refused to call it the Hoover Dam. And so he started referring to it as the Boulder Dam. And then in 1947, Congress officially named it the Hoover Dam. Now, at the time, it was a pretty contested name. It seems like something kind of petty today, but it's politics. Politics has a tendency to be petty. But at the time, you could tell which side of politics a person was on by stuff like whether they called this the Hoover Dam or they called it the Boulder Dam. This is my favorite part of the process. I probably never told you guys this. This is the part of the process to me that gives the whole thing shape and turns it from a line drawing to a dimensional drawing. My computer randomly installs stuff. I have no idea what it's doing. If anybody has any idea how to figure that out, please email me and let me know. I'm sure there's some teenager somewhere who can just explain that to me. How are we doing on time? Oh, we got to get a move on. We have to get a move on. This is another thing that makes it fun. It is a toy. I have to remember it's a toy. It's not dimensionally correct. It has some It has some features on it that are accurate, but it is still just a toy. And so there are some features on it that I have to remember to draw as warped as they actually are on the toy. So that I don't, because if something's curved or bent the wrong way, I need to make sure and reproduce that in the drawing. Otherwise, it won't be an accurate representation of what I'm seeing.
And let's just say what? You need to tell us stuff like that?
Stuff like that this is my favorite part?
Yeah, I guess so.
Or that this is a toy. Alright, let me dry this real quick and we'll come back with some color. Rick says that in his head he's 20. In his head he's still 20, and it's not my fault that my body's not keeping up. That is the absolute truth. The thing that kills me, that just really gets to me, is how when I'm laying in bed in the mornings, and my feet, I'm just laying there and I haven't done anything. I haven't rolled out from under the covers or done anything, and my feet haven't touched the ground yet. I still feel like that 25-year-old kid that can conquer anything. That is the absolute truth. I still feel like I'm that cocky 25-year-old kid that knows everything, that can do everything. And then my feet hit the ground and I'm like, oh yes, wait a minute. Yes, there's something I forgot.
You lay there and you take all these plans in the day that you can accomplish. You could when you were 25.
Yeah.
And then the feet hit reality.
That's one thing my grandfather used to say all the time, is that as long as I'm laying still in bed, nothing hurts. It's just a little more orange, just a little more vermilion. Do. Let's see, where were we? We talked about the politics of the day. The first person documented to die, there were 96 people named that died building the Hoover Dam, but they think it was closer to 116 people because there were a lot of day workers that weren't documented. And by not documented, I don't mean undocumented workers like we mean today. I mean guys that just walked on the site and nobody really knew who they were. They were only there for a while. I don't mean, the term undocumented workers today takes on a completely different meaning. But the undocumented workers I'm talking about are just not drifters, but just day workers. and they didn't bother to capture their information. They just gave me a wad of cash at the end of the day. But there were 96 people that were named that died building this, and it's a often repeated fact that the first person noted to die was J.G. Tierney on December 20th, 1921. He was the first person to die, and he fell off the edge of the dam. He fell off the edge of the cliff. The dam hadn't been built yet. He fell off the edge of the cliff where they were, the cliff face where they were building the dam. And what makes that such a repeatable fact is that the last person to die on the dam was his son, Patrick Tierney. And so I don't have a burnt sienna. What I have is vermilion and a touch of Prussian blue, and then I add either cobalt or black to it to get where I want to go. And sometimes I'll add a little yellow or a little scarlet when I'm mixing it up. But I don't have burnt sienna in this set. I like to mix my colors on the fly. The fly doesn't much like it. Sometimes he buzzes away with the idea. My paintbrush has got a little flake of mold or something in it, blocking it up. I'm going to have to take it apart and clean it. This is a water brush. Imagine the first person to die on it was your husband, and the last person to die on it's your son. And he died similarly the same way. He was leaning over the edge, looking at the intake on the power generator. This is a power generator. Is the whole point of this thing. Lake Mead is up top. And its whole point is to generate electricity and provide drinking water and irrigation water for the surrounding states. And he fell off on the inside on the intake and got sucked into the intake. There was no saving that. Yeah, imagine you're the wife, the mother, the brothers, the sisters. I mean, anybody in that family would have been devastated by that. There we go. Now I want that white on that dam to really stand out. So I'm going to go around the outside. What would be a good color to go around the outside? Let's see. That's mostly orange, so I should use something bluish, but then I've got that blue coloring in the water. I wonder if I should use like a purple or an ochre. Yellow ochre might work. Let's try that. That way that white in that dam really pops. In 1939, when this thing was cooking along, it provided 2,080 megawatts of power, which is enough power for 1.3 million people across Nevada, Arizona, and California, with Southern California getting the bulk of that power generation. Provided water to all of those areas also, especially Nevada, and irrigation. But it wreaked havoc downstream. Let me dry this real quick and we'll talk about that on the other side. We are past 6 o'clock, so we got to wrap this up. Daddy's got a day job he's got to get to. The Mexicali Valley was a flourishing farming community in the 18 and 1900s. And this thing, when they built it, cut the water supply off. And it's been a point of contention among the U.S.-Mexican relationships ever since. Now, they made in 1944, they passed a resolution to make sure to provide at least 1.5 million acre feet of water to Mexico. But by the 1960s, that water was so salty because it was all runoff water from the surrounding farms and communities that it was not usable for the farms in Mexico. And so in 1973, they passed another bill and they secured a desalination plant to make sure that Mexico was provided water in the Mexicali Valley. But the damage had already been done. The valley was basically destroyed as a farming community, and the ecosystem where the Colorado River meets the ocean, the ecosystem there was destroyed. It's never fully recovered. It still has basically the same issues because the water is still restricted. And worse now, the area is the dam is going through a drought. So and there's an argument that it's not a drought, that it's actually aridification, where desert is forming, like what happened in Africa when the savanna dried up. There's an argument out there that it may not just be a drought, that it may actually be a aridification. But you can argue that it was aridification all you want to, but this area has been depicted as a desert since the 1800s. If you look back at articles going back to the 1800s about Nevada and Southern California, New Mexico, Arizona, West Texas, Oklahoma, all of those areas have been depicted as dry desert type areas since the 1800s. So it's not, you can't blame the dam for that. You can't blame anthropogenic global warming on that. That's something that already existed that we were trying to change by adding water and irrigation to an area that was not able to sustain it. So the lake has dropped 40 to 50%, and the electrical output has dropped that much. Today is the 3rd.
Claudia says she started ukulele lessons.
Ukulele lessons? That's fun. Both my younger kids and I, both of my younger kids and I have ukuleles. All 3 of us have ukuleles. That's fun stuff right there. Okay, so there is my version of it compared to the photograph. Let's see what it looks like from my perspective. One of these days we'll have to sit down and do an actual critique. I do a little critique in my head every time I look at it, but there it is from my perspective. So that's what I did today. There's your dam drawing for the day. What are we going to do tomorrow? What could it be? What could it be? Oh, the suspense. The suspense. Claudia, are you a 1973 baby? My wife is a 74 baby. She's just a young thing. She turned 29 just the other day. Again. So tomorrow we have a chimpanzee. Pamela's in the chat saying it is a damn good drawing. Tomorrow we have a chimpanzee. We can talk tomorrow about how they went through a stone age just like we did, but they're still in their stone age. We can talk about how they are 98 to 99% similarity to us in their DNA. There's lots of fun things we can talk about with chimpanzees, and we will talk about that and many more fun facts tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time while we sketch this little primate and her baby, Bebe, tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. So you may want to set your notification bell so you don't miss that. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. This is my favorite time of the day when I get to art with my besties. I truly do look forward to it. I run down the stairs every day, often because I'm late, just to be with you guys because I really do appreciate it. Claudia, Rick, Pamela, Adele, Devirama, thank you so much for joining me. Be sure and tune in tomorrow. Same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And then we dance. We dance until somebody says they see me dancing, because when they see me dancing, I will know that the lag has caught up to the stream and I won't get cut off mid-sentence. Nobody likes being cut off mid-sentence. That's rude. It gives everybody a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other and to ask any questions they might have on the way out. It gives you a chance to click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal or this way if you're on the vertical. And